Today, I'm so excited to have Shanna Lee here. Shanna is an author of The Soul Frequency. She's an intuitive healer and a business catalyst, helping women release any unconscious blocks to their own success. And I'm really excited to have her here. She also has her own podcast show called The Soul Frequency. Hi, Shanna. So wonderful to have you
Hi.
here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm just wondering a little bit about your work and how you work with people as an intuitive healer.
Yeah.
Can you describe a little bit about what you do to help people release the blocks to their success, or what people typically have as
Yep.
energetic blocks to successful or high frequency living?
Yeah. So let me talk a little bit about how I see the energetic system of people, which is something that developed over a period of time. It's not something that I have had my entire life, although I've been a bit multidimensional my entire life and seen and experienced other dimensions. But what happened is I started to work with people, and I started my business years ago, really helping people with holistic health and healing. That was kind of my access point to raising my own consciousness. And what happened naturally in the room is I started saying the way we nourish ourselves has nothing to do with food, right? How we eat, why we eat. I mean, I just at a certain point was like, food is not the enemy and food is not the problem here. So what's really going on for people? And so overseeing hundreds and hundreds of people, I started to see something in the room that was like nothing I'd ever experienced, which almost looks like the inside of a computer, or what I would think the inside of a computer looks like. And it shows me all of the energetic connections. So all of the things that are running through somebody's mind, body, consciousness system, belief sets, things, ways we see the world, all of this kind of construct. And they're either turned on, some things are turned on, some things are turned off. And I started to see these thread-like lines that connect things that are going on in our life today and where they started. So where we had something happened in our childhood, even in our lineage. So sometimes things we're carrying around today, blocks, things that we are challenged by, are not even things that started in our lifetime. And that just kind of really blew the door open for me, because I thought, we approach so many things from a linear A plus B equals C. And there would be no way to start to clear certain things if we weren't even the one that created it, right? We wouldn't be approaching it in that way. We wouldn't be going, oh, maybe this happened and started with my grandmother, right? And this is something that I've just literally, that's come through my DNA line, that I have adopted into my programming, and I am living from it. And so I became very curious with how to dissipate these energy lines between where something was created and how it's affecting us today. And so patterns are not a negative thing, right? We think, oh, my patterns, these are horrible, right? Patterns are not. We run on patterns. That's how human beings operate. It's just some patterns we don't like, and they're not beneficial to our highest self. And so when we take a look at blocks, it's not as simple as saying from our conscious, linear mind, like, oh, I got to get rid of this block. Because oftentimes we're trying to bulldoze over like an energetic line that just needs to be dissipated. And so as I started to work with this, and my practice, of course, completely changed from starting to see what I was seeing. And at the time I had an in-person practice. So I was sitting in the room with people, just starting to see the most complex system, like how unique we truly are, and how any one person is so multifaceted and multidimensional and so layered. And then I started to really start doing this work with people and starting to clear these energetic lines and dissipate them. And that's what really, gave birth to this idea of how we want to be successful in life and what's really holding us back from that. Like, what are the things that are having us not be in our normal high frequency state? Because we don't have to raise our frequency to try to get somewhere. We are high frequency. It's just what's in the way of that. And so I started looking at it more from a subtraction equation than an addition equation. We always want to put things over the top of what we've got. And it's more a facet of what needs to be released or subtracted from the equation that is not in truth.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to say too, for people that are new to energy or learning about energy, that what Shauna is talking about has also been grounded in scientific research in regards to epigenetics and the trauma that actually gets passed down from generation to generation. So if our ancestors had certain experiences or traumas, those that PTSD can be right down the line. And this is some of what Sean is speaking to, that it's actually in our DNA and it affects our biology and the way we perceive and the way we are in the world. And Shauna, for people that are new to energy, because we, in our group, we also, we are meditators, but we also talk about energy. And so I think it could be new to some people that we have these energy lines that you were referring to. So if somebody is new to that, how would you explain the way energy moves through your mind body and why it's so important? And even, you know, what it means to have a high frequency, you know, what does that mean to you, or how do you describe that in your book?
Yeah, so we talk about I mean, probably everybody's heard the term raise your frequency, or they will hear it, or raise your vibration, something of that nature. And I think for a lot of people, it can feel like it goes kind of flies by you. Like, I don't really know what that means or how to grab onto that. And so much in my work, I like to bring this down to earth, to things that we've all experienced, because we are energy, right? Quantum science tells us that at a very fundamental level. And so when we start to shift things on the energetic level, right? Like, let's say there's the physical level and the mental level and the emotional and the spiritual or energetic level. So when we start to shift things on that spiritual or energetic level, it travels through the other levels of our being, our emotional system, our mental system, our physical system. Oftentimes we approach things from first the physical, then often the mental, then the emotional, and then we get to the energetic level. And the way it's shown to me is if we go right to the energetic level, we're going to, you know, the bottom of the iceberg, right? Where we can really affect change instead of staying at the top and thinking that's all there is. And so the idea, like a very practical application for frequency or how we feel this is, you know, if you walked into a room, let's say you go to a party and there's, let's say 100 people in that room, you're going to, and you don't know anybody, and you're just walking in, you're going to scan the room naturally. And you're going to, from your consciousness, pick out people from the room, right? You're going to notice that guy or that girl, and you're going to have a feeling about them. There will be certain people in the room that you don't even register, meaning you're not picking up their energy at all. Like if someone said, can you describe everyone in the room? You won't be able to describe everybody, but you will pick out a few people that feel like there could be a connection there. Like, oh, he looks really nice, or she looks really nice, or, oh, I'd like to go talk to them. That's because they have a similar resonance of energy as you, right? There's some connection there. So you say, you leave the party, you go, oh, she had a great vibe, right? People say that all the time. It means I liked her energy. There was something beyond what we talked about that I connected with, or I connected with before we had a great conversation. And so we are always feeling people's energy. Same with if you are thinking about somebody and then the phone rings and they're calling you, right? You're picking up that energy that they are on the other side of that line, dialing you and thinking about you. So we are all really connected by energy. It's just, we have a lot of reasons why we don't experience that all the time. And really at this time on the planet, I think it's an opportune time to start taking away the things that keep us from seeing these connections or feeling these connections. Energy happens in the heart space a lot of times, a feeling, right? And we so rely in our three-dimensional reality with our seeing and our hearing. And a lot of times we start feeling the shifts in energy from our heart space, right? From feeling, oh, this room doesn't feel good to me, or this person feels amazing or doesn't feel good. And so these are some of the ways we can just start sharpening that feeling sensation of energy. And I also use an analogy that I think is really helpful. Energy is multidimensional, which can be a little confusing for our linear mind. But for conversation purposes, if you picture a 10-story building, and let's say each story of the building has different people living on it, and each story of the building has a different experience. So if I'm on the first floor and I walk to the window, I might see a sidewalk, I might see a tree trunk, maybe even, I might see people walking around. If I live on the 10th floor of the building, and I walk to the window, I'm going to see clouds, maybe other buildings, right? I'm not going to see the tree trunk, and I'm not going to see the people walking. So this is how our life can literally look different at different energy frequencies, right? These are just different floors of the building and how we perceive life from these different floors of the building. And many times, if we're living on the first floor, we go, all there is the first floor. Everybody is looking out the window, seeing what I'm seeing. I mean, that's so practical in life. We think people are going to feel the same way we feel. They're going to make the same choices we make in life. And so it's really starting to just kind of get your head around that there might be these totally different vantage points. And what's available now is the ability for each one of us to shift our vantage point, right? To see life differently. And we might attract different things living on the 10th floor than we do on the first floor. We might attract different people in our life, right? That resonate with the 10th floor. We might attract different opportunities into our life. That the things that are circling in your reality right now, I call it the reality movie screen, right? The things you see in life when you look outside of yourself are present because of an energy that you are vibrating at, right? That we can change that movie screen in our life, which I call it a technology. And I think it's one of the most powerful technologies that we can all access at this time.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And how do you help people access this technology?
Well,
when they come and they have these blocks and they don't know why, or they're working with these patterns, how are you working with them? And what do you do to show them how to do it for themselves?
Well, meditation is a great way, right, to start to access other things, even just like I love guided meditations, but even just sitting in silence, right? We can start to feel the subtleties. Like the beginning of being able to kind of shift your reality is to get in the subtle. So life can be loud and there can be lots going on. And there's a lot of people that walk around missing the subtleties. And so even little things like being out in nature and observing all the different dimensions of a leaf, right? It starts to attune us to looking at something that most people just walk by and don't think twice about. So we can start kind of focusing in on what a miracle a leaf is and how it grows and what how many different like colors it has or different parts of the stem it has. And these are types of things that may seem silly or trivial, but they have us start looking at the details. And I think, the energetic world is all about subtleties, right? Subtle shifts can create really big changes in your life. And so when I'm in private session with someone, I'm basically looking into their energetic field. And through conversation, I am disconnecting the energy lines that they say are not beneficial to their life. So we are talking about what's the highest and best, what they feel their highest and best is in their life in any area, relationships, career, health. And then, I'm kind of seeing, is this feel like truth, right? Are they on their truth point? And it kind of lights up for me if it is. And then we say, what are the different lines that don't support that, right? And then it's funny because I tell people healing is not linear. We really want it to be linear, but it's not. And so oftentimes in session, I'll start bringing something into the session and they're thinking, wait a second, weren't we talking about career? And I'm on a totally different topic. And I say, yes, but this has everything to do with what's not happening in your career. So I think the beautiful thing to realize is if anybody has struggled with their blocks, like really wrestled with them, forgive, right? Be at peace with the fact that sometimes when we're approaching our blocks from a head-on place, we can't really see where they come from. And to get support in seeing, because it's not linear, right? So the thing that's going to release you from a career block might be something that's actually in a relationship. And vice versa. And so there's almost like I'm shown basically a order of importance of what needs to be brought to the surface first. And what's fascinating is when I'm working with people for quite a while, they actually bring the most important thing into the session. So I'll say to them, like, what's feeling important for you? And they actually, like, our soul knows what wants to rise to the surface first. So they will come into session and they'll just tell me a story of something that happened in their life or something that's going on or a struggle. And it's actually the next thing in line to basically be disconnected. So it's fascinating. I always tell people their soul is leading the journey. I'm just here to help see the road, right? And be able to help them see what they need to see to disconnect it. What's interesting too is that once you become conscious of the line starts to dissipate. So part of the line staying in place is that it has to be unconscious for you. It gains a lot of power by being unconscious. And as we start to dissipate the line, just even seeing it first, even if we're not changing behaviors or doing different actions or anything like that, it'll start to disappear.
Mm-hmm. And you enjoy working with women and their unconscious blocks when it comes to success in business.
Yes.
What do you find that women struggle with the most, and how do you help them?
Some of the major themes are usually not, like, this is going to sound weird, but not being in connection with their anger, or the things that they have felt at a deep level that are not socially okay. So women have a lot of energy tied up in things they're angry about and don't know how to express that. There's a lot of horrible words we say about women when they're angry in our culture. And I like to connect people with the fact that our emotions are exactly where we manifest from. So if our emotional plane is, if we're hiding from it and we don't want to deal with it, and we've got a lot of stored up emotion in our body, we are not running energy through our system like we should and could. And it can slow down manifestation. It can almost act as a veil to seeing what needs to be seen to move forward. And so sometimes emotions are the first thing that I see and that need to kind of be shifted. And so we need to know that every emotion is valuable, and it just needs to be felt and moved out of the mind-body system. It's a bell curve. Emotion's a bell curve. And many times I feel like that's standing in the way, either from starting a business or the beginning steps of it, or even once you've grown to a certain place, getting to that next place in the business. Like, the thing that's holding you back from making the choices that help you move forward has to do with, certainly belief sets, but emotions tied to those belief sets. So that's one of the things. Also feeling like there's usually something going on, and this can be, again, in the DNA line, about not wanting to supersede somebody in their life. So not wanting to be more successful than someone for the fear that they will lose that person's love or care, or be kicked out of the circle, right? We're very community oriented, and we will sacrifice our own success to be accepted by the community. So if we feel, as women, and especially women are so community oriented, right? If we feel like being successful is going to ostracize us, right? Or has, like, in our own life history or in the history of our family system, then we will sacrifice that to be accepted and loved. So I see a lot of that going on in people's system. Also a lot of just doubting our own clarity and our own ability to choose. So not wanting to make the wrong choice, feeling like a choice, like if you make a choice, it's forever, right? I have to either choose this for the rest of my life or not choose this. And so there's a fear, I think more so with women than for men, and I've coached men too. There's a fear of making the wrong choice and suffering by that choice. And so I tell women all the time, you want to have clarity and make a strong, clear choice and know that you can always pivot. There's always an opportunity to make a new choice, but exercising a muscle of choosing powerfully, and even choosing in the moment powerfully. Because in business, many times you need to make a choice in a short amount of time. You have to call the shot and then move forward with it. But there's always the opportunity to pivot. And I think men naturally feel like they can change their mind and pivot if they need to. And women tend to feel more like, if I'm making this choice, I got to stick by it forever. And so, which is not the case, right? Things are always evolving and we need to have the freedom to make new choices. So those are some of the, like, key things that are kind of around business that I see pretty much across the board, at least one of those.
That's really fascinating. And that women take a choice almost like a vow of commitment.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, they feel less permission to just be fluid. and to do anything that they want. Whereas I think men do have that linear energy, and it's very easy for them to just, very quickly navigate that space. And I'm interested in the emotional component. You talked about women not being in touch with their anger, maybe even their rage, that really dark side of their energy. And can you talk to more about manifesting through your emotions and why that's so important?
Yeah, so in my book, The Soul Frequency, I go into a lot of detail. I feel like this is something everyone on the planet should know. I go through the 4 steps of how we create, how we manifest. And whether we're creating something amazing in our life, we go through these 4 steps, or whether we're using the 4 steps to create what we don't want, which is often what we're doing, right? And so I talk about this in detail, but one of those components is feelings. So feelings are like the spark beneath thoughts and ideas, right? It's this driving, it's like the gasoline, right? Or if you
The
have a
fire.
Tesla, yeah, if you have a Tesla, that's your battery.
Yeah.
It is the thing that is going to move things forward. And so we can't selectively shut down emotions, although we try to do that and we think we can. So if we start not feeling our rage or our anger or moving through that, we're also not feeling our greatest joy or our greatest possibility. We tend to just, and it's so tricky because it happens over time, right? As we get older, we have more things happen in life and we start to constrict more and more and more. And it's so subtle that we don't always notice it.
Mm-hmm.
And I call it in my book, like we're wearing wool blankets on our back. And so we have one wool blanket that someone throws on our back from an event that happens. And by the time we get to the middle section of our life, we're carrying around like 40 or 50 wool blankets on our back and we can't stand up anymore. We're literally hunched over, but we almost don't recognize it because it happened over a period of time. And so manifesting and really being successful in anything in life is opening back up that emotional channel. And look, there's nobody on the planet that's not afraid to go back and go through some emotions, right? Some things some hurts and things they've been through in life. I mean, it would be completely abnormal for someone to not feel fear around that. Like it's part of the journey. And so I always recommend having someone hold your hand through that process because our human instinct is to back off of it, right? If we feel afraid of it, we're just gonna, save it for next week or next month or never, right? And so we need people to say, this is safe and call us up to it, right? To look at the things we need to see, to feel the feelings we need to feel, to move the energy out of our body. All the emotion is just energy, right? It just needs to move. We don't have to attach a story to it. We don't have to, I always say, just let it flow like a fountain, right? You would not jump on top of a fountain and try to stop the water. Like you'd get all wet and it wouldn't work anyways. So it's just about flowing like a fountain and starting to open up those channels. And it's different for everybody. I mean, I've worked with people that have told me they haven't cried in 10 years. And they really don't even know how to access their emotions anymore. They feel numb. They feel like I don't have emotions and I wouldn't even know where to look for them. And then on the other hand, I've worked with people who feel like they are crying all the time or having emotion all the time and it just feels out of control, right? They feel like, gosh, feel like I'm a mess all the time and what do I do? And both of those are 2 different states of being that they need some introspection and some disconnection of the energy and some understanding around the role of emotions. And so we want to feel balanced and good, but we want to be able to feel things as they happen, just like a toddler does, right? They feel everything and they don't hide it because they haven't been taught to yet, right? So they'll throw themselves on the floor and have a temper tantrum and do the whole thing and all this energy is flowing out of them. And then when they're done, they get up and they're like, okay, let's go play. And the adult or the parent there is like, what just happened, right? They're the one that's traumatized by it. The child is fine, right? The child's like, I got that out. I'm good now. So
they they process it very quickly.
Very quickly, because they complete the emotion. That's what it is. They go up over the bell curve, they come down the other side, and it's done. Right? It's complete. All the energy is moved out of their body. Our feelings only last a short period of time. We're just so used to blocking them because we're ultimately afraid we're going to end up in the abyss, right? Like if I start crying now, I'm going to cry for 5 days and I'm not going to be able to get my groceries done. I'm not going to be able to work. we have this unrealistic expectation of what emotion is. And many times it's because we've constantly been attaching a story to it. So we keep it alive in our system instead of being able to move that energy out. And so typically, like, again, you don't think about a conversation about business and success having to do with a toddler crying on the floor, right? We don't tend to put those together. We don't tend to put together that we need to move through our rage and anger to make more money, right? Or to have more success in business. Like, that's not the logical thing. And so we keep going after the logical thing and missing that part of the iceberg that's under the water.
Exactly, because we're accessing our power through, getting in touch with our emotions. I was hearing the power is in the pain. When you were talking, that if you're willing to go into the pain, if you're willing to go into the fear, you can open up, access more of your energy.
Yes.
Access more of your range, of your unlimited self.
Yes.
So yeah, that's fascinating, Shanna. And starting to come to a close, I'd love to hear some of your ideas and then maybe open up this conversation to a few people in our community to ask a few questions. But in coming to a close, I'm just curious, a few things I'm curious about. One is how you catalyze business through energy and the energy tools. What is that like? I'm just so curious to hear about that. And then secondly, what are you passionate about right now? What's really in the forefront for you right now? Just anything, spiritually, personally, what's lighting you up right now? So those last two questions.
I hope I get both of these. Okay, so the first one about catalyzing, again, our linear mind would say catalyzing, adding to, doing something, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens is a natural catalyzing effect when we clear the stuff. So what I'm doing is just looking at what is holding us back. Like, I think the most important thing people need to understand is your energy is so amazing and active and vibrant and powerful that if we just get a few things out of the way, it goes by itself where it's meant to go, right? It goes to its highest purpose. If we get out of the way, the stuff that is holding us in these other lower frequencies. And when I say lower frequencies, I mean feelings like shame and guilt and rage that is unexpressed, right? And these things we hold in our field, our energetic field around our body. And when we start clearing that out, I mean, I've seen this time and time again. People will say, I don't know what my purpose is. I'm confused on this. And it's like, we start clearing this out. Purpose just is there. It is ever present. It is who you are. It's not something you find outside of yourself. It's just you. And it comes in so big and so fast for people that it's nothing like they've ever felt before. And so when I'm working with people, they will just have inspiration like never before, because again, we're taking away, right, what keeps them from hearing the higher inspiration. And it just, when you open the door to it, it just starts coming, right? And then our job is really how to take inspired action on the things that feel good to you, right? We're so used to taking action on things we don't like to do. And this is more about looking at everything that's coming in and I'm starting to connect on another level. How do I start honoring that connection by taking action in the three-dimensional world, right? So that I can create something in reality. And so that is just, the catalyzing effect happens for everybody too. It's not, people ask me like, well, what if I can't do this? Or what if it's not my destiny? And I'm like, it will happen for anybody. Like, I've never had it not happen for somebody. And what I've been shown over time is like, it's hard for us to believe that that's our natural state of being. It's hard for us to know that it's that great. Like, the only problem that people have is, can I accept all of this goodness? Can I accept this energy that feels so good? Because people's ego mind says, oh, when's this going to end? When's the shoe going to drop? Oh, this can't be that good, right? Our old wounds then come into play and try to dampen that energy. So I think there's a kind of peace in just knowing that it is the truth of who you are, every one of us. And as you start to clear this stuff away, the catalyst effect just happens. And it's probably, I believe, one of the best feelings of somebody's life. Like, it's so good to feel in that much alignment, like that anything, right? Anything in your world pales in comparison to feeling that total alignment. And of course, in that total alignment, you have more love for other people, you have more to give, you know, everything just expands. But it's, I think, the feeling we all have come here to ultimately experience and learn. And so there's that. And what was the second
Oh,
question?
that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful just to receive that. Shauna, the second question is what is lighting you up right now? What are you super excited about? What are you, yeah, what's present for you personally, Shauna?
um, Having more people experience that, like being in alignment, you know, and bringing other souls into alignment. I have, there's something, if people are interested in, there's frequencies of sound that can unlock some of these feelings too. So I actually have a meditation that I created that has these specific frequencies of sound that start to unlock this. It also can make you start to feel your emotions, which is a cleansing thing that goes on. It's free. You can get it at thesoulfrequency.com/mind. But getting around this type of energy literally starts to change your world, right? Change from the first floor to maybe the second, the third floor, the fourth floor. And you start to, once you have the feeling, you know the feeling, and you can expand the feeling. So even if you've never felt that type of expansiveness, it's entirely possible for everybody. And so I feel like my role or my job is to at least have people start to experience it. Because once you have a point of reference for it, then if you desire more of it, you can seek that out. You know what you're looking for. And so I just feel like the more lives that I can share this with, and that we can have those glimpses, which is how everything starts, like a glimpse of, oh, what if, or I could be more, or I could do this, like that we can latch onto, right? And we can create patterns around, positive patterns around those glimpses of goosebump moments, right? That we have where we feel our connection to the higher dimensions, where we feel our connection to source and feel our connection to ultimate love, and can continue to seek that out and expand that, and then ultimately share that with everybody who comes across our path.
Mm-hmm. That is beautiful. Thank you, Shauna. I hope you'll go to her site and receive the guided meditation. It is, again, Shauna, can you remind us?
Yes, the soul, SOUL, frequency.com/mind.
Okay, go there, guys, and be sure to check it out. I'd like to open this up as well. We have some people that are here, and see if you have questions. So if you are on the actual Zoom call, you can raise your hand and we'll go ahead and bring you on video or voice. You can also type chat your question in the Q&A box. And if you're on Facebook, go ahead and type your question in the Facebook thread, and Chella will pick it up there.
Yeah, so I do have a question. Maybe you can let our viewers know the best place to pick up a copy of your book.
Sure. Yeah, the book is on Amazon, and there's actually 4 gifts, book bonus gifts with the book. So for that, you can go to thesoulfrequency.com and click on book, and you can get the 4 bonus gifts, which are, there's a whole page. It tells everything that's available there. So Amazon, it's also an audiobook as well. So for those that like to listen.
And I have to say, Shauna, I've really enjoyed our talk today, that I would like to book a session with you. It was so interesting to hear about your work, and I really resonate with it. So if people want to work with you individually, what is that like? Do you do single sessions, and how do you work with people?
I do single sessions if someone just wants to start to experience it and see what it's like. And you can go to thesoulfrequency.com/sessions. There are a couple of different sessions. There's specifically business session for people that are really, at that point where they're either trying to grow a business or they've hit a roadblock in business. There's also an intuitive frequency healing session. So anything relationship based that's feeling like it's coming up, or just life, emotions, all of that. And then we have a specific clearing blocks session, which sometimes with clearing blocks, it will feel like there is a block that is really coming up strong in your life. Which just means it's ready to be released. So if you keep seeing the same thing over and over and over again, and it just feels very present for you, that's a great session to just kind of move that energy out about one particular block. So we can focus on that.
Okay, great. I'm excited to check that out.
Yeah.
Shanna, thank you so much for your time and your energy and sharing about high frequency. Our viewers, I know, really appreciate it as well. And thank you. Thank you. Be sure to go to Shanna's site if you'd like to learn more. And Shanna, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And thanks everybody for listening in.